what I really do is hip hop, and what I started to do to meet comics is I would go to open mics and I would just like I would just rap. I was just rapping. The Glenwood is the first one I went to, and it's I think the reason I stumbled into rapping for comedians because of this, because like it's there's not very many music open mics, but there's some all arts open mics, but most of those are mostly comedy anyways. And so like you just turn up at one of those and you rap, but you're actually good, and immediately everyone's blown away. They're like, oh my God, I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know people still rapped good. Like it's just like everything. It's all oversaturated. So people just expect things to be bad. So when you're actually good, it's like, wow, you're actually good. I can't believe it. You're actually okay. That's what I would like to do. And yeah, I think there's parallels. I think there's parallels between comedy and music, especially hip hop and comedy, because it's like what I think hip hop to be is wordplay and like learning to communicate your ideas in a way that only you can communicate them, like finding your voice, just like it is in comedy, like finding a way to utilize your spirit and communicate that. And like there's a universal truth that you can touch on if you properly execute upon such a thing. And then it almost becomes an act of hypnosis between you and the audience when done right. I think comedy's the same. Like it's not even about the words you're saying at a certain point. It becomes like the energy you're putting out there. And that's actually the exchange. And then the comedy is just a side product of it that we all buy into because we actually like you.
You are very much an artist at heart.
Thank you. It's a gift and a curse, I tell you.
Yeah, I think being in the arts makes you kind of crazy.
Yeah. And like the way that you look at things, if you're truly an artist, in my opinion, is you're looking at it in like this meta way. Like you're trying to look beyond what's happening on the surface and kind of understand the mechanics of it, because you want to know what's working about it. Like for me, that's what it is. Like when I see a great movie, like a great painting, I want to understand like what is it that I'm seeing that I am resonating with. I don't want to just say, oh, this is a good painting. Oh, this is a good movie. It's like, what is good about it?
Like why?
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I had that when I would watch. How old are you?
27.
27. Okay, then you remember DVDs.
Yeah. The relic of the past.
Yeah, I still collect them. I used to love to get the menus and the behind the scene part of the menu.
Yeah.
I used to love like going to that part of it. I'd watch the movie, then I would immediately go back to like play the commentary over it or watch some behind the scenes as to how they made it, because to me the process of making it was just as cool as watching the product itself.
Yeah.
I think, and I know you were talking about stand up and how comics have to, in order to figure it out, you just have to do it. It's not like music where you can be in the basement until you make the thing. Like you have to go out and say it in front of people and see if it works, and just the process.
Yeah, well, and even like, and that mentality makes you better, because it's the same thing with music in the sense that even if you're making it in a basement, you should be constantly at least getting in the habit of doing it, like of writing all the time. Because I think there's a certain point, it's like that whole flow state thing. Like at a certain point, you're not doing it because you have to, you're doing it because it's what you do, you know? And once you're there, that's, I think, when you make the best stuff, is when you get into like the rhythm of doing that, you know? Because it's then you're not thinking about all of the mechanics of it so much. Like, oh, I have to write this way, or I have to write so many songs in so many days. I have to write so many jokes in so many days. Like at a certain point, you just go to open mics 3 times a week. That's what you do. And if you break from that, you almost feel wrong. Like, that's where you should be. Not in the place where you feel like you have to go and you're forcing yourself to. And I think like you will have times where you are forcing yourself, but it's like pushing through those that gets you to that place. Because it's breaking through that resistance, you know, because I think it is an uphill battle. Any art you do is going to be an uphill battle, because there's no, like we were saying before, there's no proper path. There's no real like moment of success. Like that doesn't exist. I think we've been like built to have this idealized version of success. Like, oh, when I have X, Y, or Z, that is when I've done it. But that doesn't actually exist. And even when you have those things, you will not have done it. You will think once you get there you've done it, but you actually haven't, because then you're gonna be like, oh, what now? You know?
Did you have that moment sometime recently?
I've had a couple times where I've thought like this is a moment that is going to lead to something, and then it just it doesn't in the way that you think it would, you know? Like I've had a couple moments in my musical career where I'm like, wow, like, but it's all just I think I've always been enlightened in the sense that I've always known like what is happening in the moment isn't the whole thing, you know? Like, say you have a great night, you kill, you just fucking kill, because this is another piece of wisdom comedy will give you. The next night, you might not kill. You might actually have the exact opposite experience.
Yeah.
And then you might have told the exact same jokes. And it seems like the universe just presented this puzzle to you.
Yeah.
That's how it seems.
I had a moment like that I'm from California.
Yeah.
And we had this show at the Fox Theater, which was like a big deal. We had put on it had taken us months. We rented out the venue. We had this big show. There was like 300 people, and it was amazing. And I was still early in stand up, and I didn't have the type of consistency that I have now. And the next night, I had a show in like this shitty pizza place in this back room in LA, and I invited 2 friends. There was damn near no one in the audience, and I didn't have the skills to deal with that yet.
Yeah.
And I went from like 300 people and murdering to like 7 people in this pizza venue in front of my friends and bombing. And I cried on the way back home. I was like, this is terrible. So yeah, there's this, you have to like power through so much shittiness to get to a sense of consistency. And I think that's why a lot of people don't follow through on this stuff.
Oh yeah, because I mean, like, because again, it's like it's idealized. It's like you're thinking that once I have that show where I'm killing in front of 300 people, that's when I've done it. And then all of a sudden, that's not it. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, I still have to go to open mics with no one here. I still have to perform in front of 3 of my friends and no one else. Like, I still have to do that. I thought that was not how this worked. I thought I just was successful one day.
I think for myself, I have a marker of success that's financial. I guess artistically speaking, it is endless.
Yeah.
I think if you think about an artistic marker and like, okay, once I've written an hour, then I'm done. That's not very smart. But for me, financially, I do have a marker. I don't know the exact number yet, but if I can survive financially the way I'm surviving now, I will feel that I have made it. And then that marker gets moved again, but that's where I'm at.
Yep. You know what? That's if I had to think about it, it's the same exact thing. Because I mean, like, truly, that's what this podcast is for. That's what all that is for. Is to like, once you get to a point of self-sustainability, I think that's when you're actually successful. In my mind, like, that's success to me. Is if I was making $30,000 a year off of my art, which, like, to me, that's not even a lot. Like, that's really not a lot. Yeah. But it is at the same time, because I mean, it's nowhere near where I am now, but that would be enough to survive. That would be enough to have basic necessities and survive, and that would be success to me. That would be like self-sustainability, and then it's going up from there. But like, if I could pay my rent and afford groceries, and also and from my art, like from doing things I want to do rather than things I feel I have to do, that is success. You know. But the avenue towards that seems invisible. It seems like there's nobody that can tell you quite how to do it, you know, especially, you know, it's funny in comedy in particular, because it's shifted over the years. Multiple music has too, because of the way that streaming has came around. Social media in general is kind of the common thing that switched everything, because comedy, there used to be things that made sense. Like, okay, you need a deal from a network. Okay, you need to be on a talk show. You need to have an hour with like a special. Those were things that you needed to do. And if you did those things, you were like an established comedian. Now it's like
it's a free-for-all.
Free-for-all, yeah. And that's why everybody does podcasts, and everybody's trying to like find other ways to develop a rabid fan base rather than just focus on the craft itself. And you're kind of just forced to do that. There's not another choice. Music, you have to focus on social media and becoming like a personality that people recognize rather than being just the musician. There's no choice. There's not like, you can still maybe do the other thing, but if you do, you're an anomaly. Like if you manage to do it the old school way, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Because they don't make it, that's just not the way the path is anymore.
Do you feel like that's ultimately good or ultimately negative?
Before Ruse answers that question, allow me to say that yes, it's true. The world now is different. There's no real avenue to becoming a face that everybody sees, getting your talents out there, getting well known in the world, other than becoming a social media personality. It's sad. It's kind of sad the way it is, but you have to do it. You have to adapt. You have to live in the landscape that we are in. Unless you're some kind of anomaly, it's just impossible. Unless you're somebody who can go out there and just through your talent blow people's minds, I don't know how you're going to do it. And even then, if you're somebody that blows minds, don't you want everybody to know? And it just becomes a marketing scheme. That's what it is. We're all just marketers. We're all just salesmen in the end. So let's say you do blow minds and you do want people to know. Now, you can either be the mind blower that blows the minds and that's all you do. You just make the art and you just put it out there. Or you learn the ins and outs of social media. You learn the ways to promote yourself, to put your face in front of people, and you become some kind of professional mind blower. And that's what we are up in here. That's why we're selling these shirts. We got $25 t-shirts, folks, professional mind blowers. And you guys can blow minds. I just want to see how. I want to see you go dazzle the world. We got smalls, we got mediums, we got larges, and they're $25. That is shipping included. You are a mind blower. Now let's see how you do it. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. If you want to support this show, but you don't want to get a t-shirt, well, don't you worry. We got you covered. There's this little thing called Patreon. That's right. $5 a month, the price of a coffee, the price of a beer at the bar, and you make this thing happen. Ain't that crazy? We got exclusive content on the Patreon. I'm talking music that comes out there nowhere else. I'm talking exclusive podcast content, and I'm talking you get to hear my songs early. These are all just perks for the amazing thing that is Patreon that allows you to support this show and to let us know that you love what we're doing. And I really, really, really could use you guys' support. This thing ain't easy. We're doing an episode every 3 days, so please help keep this train a-running. I've been making these ads way too long, so I'm trying to keep it nice and concise for you. I got one more thing to say. Okay, and that one more thing is we got shows. We got dates coming up. May 15th, I will be at Roast Battle at Zany's. Roast Battle Chicago at Zany's. I will be tearing the house down. I will be roasting everybody. I will be roasting everyone. So please come out, check it out. I'm going to be doing that over and over. They're having me back every single time at Zany's. Super awesome opportunity. Love Roast Battle Chicago. Super awesome show. Probably the biggest comedy show in the city. One of the only shows that forces comedians to be creative, come up with original content, produces a moment that will only live right there in that moment, and also puts on all these upcoming comics. There's some faces in Roast Battle Chicago that you're going to be seeing nationwide here pretty soon, so keep an eye on that. Come out to Zany's May 15th and check out Ruse ripping some rhymes on these roasters. Also, June 7th, I will be at Wow, You're Actually Funny by Marco Serino. He's the one who put that show together, a friend of Ruse Radio. Can't wait to be there, rapping, dazzling the people, the funny people. I will be funny. I'll do something funny. Maybe I'll wear a funny hat. Maybe I'll wear some funny clothes. You got to be there to find out. That night at midnight, I will be at Mark II Lounge, the bar way up on the north side of Chicago. I will be rapping with Sands of the Hour. That's going to be at midnight. So if you're feeling like you want to do something a little spicy late at night, come out and see Ruse. I'm going to give you a nice long set. We're talking endurance training, okay? I'm thinking maybe 30 or 40 minutes, all right? I got to train for these million people concerts that I'm going to be doing here pretty soon in the future. And last but not least, like I said, we're going to be at Zany's every single time at Roast Battle. So on June 19th, I will be back at Roast Battle at Zany's, 9 p.m., roasting everybody again. I'm just going to be roasting over and over. Let's call that a barbecue. Ruse is officially invited to the cookout. Now let's get back to the question. Is the current social media landscape we live in ultimately good or bad for modern creators?
I think ultimately, nothing is black or white. So there's no clear answer, because everything has pros and cons. I think that like the fact that people can do it is good, and I think that in my mind is. I think like if I had to pick, I would say it has to be better than worse, because like you do have the fact that there is oversaturation everywhere because anybody can do anything. So like with the fact that we all have the opportunity. It's just like you go to an open mic, anybody can sign up, so you'll see everything.
Yep. You sure will.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know we were talking about this. I don't know if you were recording it, but like music mics, just purely music feels. I'd imagine it feels different than comedy mics.
I like comedy mics more.
Oh, really? oh God, why?
I'm just a crazy person.
Okay. Yeah. Crazy and comedy open mics, they go hand in hand.
I find like out of touch comedy to be more entertaining than out of touch music too. Like when someone's out of touch, like doing music at an open mic, it's kind of just like, okay, like you're kind of just sitting through it, like you're just allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just not my taste, you know. But when it's like out of touch comedy and they're just bombing, to me, that's funny. I like watching people fail.
Oh, so sadistic.
Because I'm like, damn, bro, like these are the trenches. We in the trenches right now. And comedy, you have to like, you're actively pulling yourself out of a hole when you're bombing. You know, it's different than bombing with music.
How would you describe the experience of bombing with music?
Like you're doing, it's like by rote, you know, like you know exactly where we're going. Like it's just rhythm, you know, you're just going through the motions. Whereas comedy, it's like you can kind of feel the fear. It's more visceral.
How do you? So like, how I play bass.
Yeah.
And I was in a band for like a little bit in San Diego, and I remember one night. The lead guy was like, we're gonna play this song. I was like, dude, I don't remember how that bass line goes.
Yeah.
And it was evident. And I'm just up there and I'm like, the drummer, who's a cokehead and a very angry person, like hit me with the
Classic
sticks.
musician, by the way.
Are the drummers always cokeheads? Is that?
Just coke in general. Lots of coke out there.
Yeah, it happens. And like I remember just standing there and being like, I do not know this. And it was immediately evident. People don't realize how important bass is until it's not there.
Yeah.
And I was standing there and I was like, I can't play these notes. And I just stopped and you could feel the bass wasn't there and you could feel the energy go down. And I didn't continue to pursue music in that way. So I never learned how to handle bombing while playing music. I don't, like you were saying, you just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Like, cause as a comic, if I start bombing as a comic, I'll probably
switch gears.
I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to try some crowd work, or I'm going to slow down or speed up or make my voice.
And that's what I mean is like bombing in music. There's I think like there's more of a template. Whereas with comedy, it's kind of like you do have to switch gears and like try to figure it out actively in the moment. Where like that is more of a puzzle to me than like, okay, well, we at least, I know how the skeleton of this song goes. Like I could still kind of power through this if I have to. I will say though that like with the way that I rap, it is kind of like if I forget words, I could easily fuck myself up real fast.
Are you doing ribbity rap faster?
Yeah. Well, and I'm doing the way I write. It's like comedy in that there's like a word economy. Everything matters. Every single thing I say matters to the point where like if I forget a line, I better know the next line or two because I might like completely like it's so important the way I write it. Like it's not like the type of rap where I could just freestyle and I'm good. Like I kind of do have to stick to the script in a way.
How do you stay? I know technically. See, it's funny doing a podcast as the person that's normally interviewing. I've grown so accustomed to asking the other person questions. I'm not even used to being on the camera. It's very different. But
you're good at asking questions.
Thanks.
Tell you that. That's a skill, dude. That really is a skill.
Yeah.
To be able to ask. I think that's actually one of the best skills you could have, I would say, is to be able to ask the right questions.
Yeah, I guess I just have a curiosity about people and the way, especially artists, because they're so strange. Yeah. But how, like when you're rapping, how do you stay present? If there's as a comic, if I'm not present and if I'm going through the motions, the audience feels that immediately. I'm affected by that, so I have to adjust.
Yeah.
But as a rapper or as a musician, the tempo is going to stay the same, the notes stay the same, the words stay the same. How do you stay present while everything else stays the same?
By inserting my soul within what I'm doing.
That was very deep. Okay.
Yeah, like I have to feel it. It's just like an actor when they're acting. Like you know all the lines, and we've went through all the lines, but I still have to feel it every time I say it. And if I don't feel it, then that disconnect is gonna communicate. And one thing I can tell I'm at a stage where I need to get over this, where it's like I'm better if I completely ignore the audience almost. But I need to figure out how to not do that so much. Cause like, so I'll be so in my zone that I'm really just like performing to this ether, and you happen to be there. Where it's like I can get away with that. Where comedy's not like that at all. It's so independent on the audience. You can't even. There's no choice in doing that. You kind of are fighting with the audience when you think that way. Like you can't have this idealized version of the audience. It has to be the audience that's in front of you. Whereas like with music, I could do it alone in my room. I could perform the song the exact same way I'm going to perform it in front of you, in front of 1,000 people. And it's just nice to have the 1,000 people there. But I didn't need them to do that, you know? And so that's kind of the idea in my mind, is just stay in that pocket if I possibly can. Like, and I think a lot of it is just believing what I'm saying. I think it's as simple as that.
Wow. Believing what you're saying. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And I think that is, if we're talking about like open mic comics, that is one of the main issues I take with open mic comics.
They don't believe themselves?
They are so focused on, I'm going to put this, they're so focused on trying to be funny that they completely lose their authenticity.
Right.
So, for example, and I talk to my friends about this a lot. There is a North Side in particular. There is a stereotypical rubric of which you will see a lot of like new open mic comics. Edgelord, Okay, edgelordy, you're gonna hear about rape, molestation, incest. What is it when you fuck animals?
And necrophilia is bodies.
You'll hear about necrophilia, fucking animals, bestiality.
Yeah.
Someone's Jewish. They're not Jewish enough, or they're super Jewish.
Yep.
I hear a black cock. I always hear black cock.
Really?
Yep. People love to talk about black cock, and they say it exactly like that. It's very strange.
Huh. And you can tell, like, because in rap you see the same thing where it's like you're doing what you think you're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Yeah, like you think that's what this, and it kind of reveals your hand when you do that. Like, that's what you think this is. Like we can all see kind of right through that. If you've done it long enough, you can see right through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's so many people who think comedy is the act of being offensive.
Right.
And it's not.
To me, what I always think about is like, I think like they're trying to do like the Kaufman-esque thing. Like they've seen subversive comedy done right, and they think that's what that stuff was, and they don't actually understand like it's like we were saying before we started recording, you have to know the rules before you can break them. They haven't learned the rules yet, and they think that they're breaking the rules. You know, like you can't just say the sacred word. You have to like, it's about justification more than anything. Like that's actually the game, is finding a way to properly justify your choices. And if you're just making the choice to show, oh look, I made this choice, that's not a proper reason to make the choice. It doesn't. You have to treat the audience like they're smart, and you're kind of just treating the audience like they're dumb when you just do only lowbrow, low-hanging fruit type stuff like that. And I didn't realize how prevalent that was in the open mic world until I started going to enough of these. I was like, oh, not only that, there's specific places where you'll see more of it than other places. You'll be like, oh my God, this room, we mentioned rape like 10 times tonight.
Yeah, they sure do love talking about rape.
They really do.
And it's not that any of this is bothersome to me on a surface level. You can talk about whatever you want.
Well, and that's why it's like a conundrum, because they think that you don't like it because, oh, you think I can't say this stuff. That's not the actual reason it's not resonating. Yeah.
And it takes time, and at the same time, try not to be especially if you're new to it.
Yeah.
Like just try not to be judgmental. That comedy is like a white dude comedy trope, and then there's a North Side black dude comedy trope of, in my opinion, shucking and jiving.
Okay.
So where was I? I'm trying to keep it vague. I was at an open. I was at an open mic, and a black dude went up there and was just fucking, just. Man, I love white women. I only date white women, and it's like, golly, bro. Like, if that is true to him, it's funny because you can feel that he's saying that because he's trying to elicit that same type of rapey type response.
Right.
But you can feel that, like, this isn't actually you. There's something there's some sort of disconnect in the authenticity of it.
Right.
And that's another one that is disappointing when I say that.
And it's confusing to me in the sense that, at the very least, because comedy is about being authentic, but it's also about playing on certain aspects of your personality and learning to elevate certain characteristics. Like, there are things that people do. It's like big comics, like the people that are like well-known names. I would argue they're not exactly being themselves. Like, there is a certain level of turning it up. And so that's like where it gets kind of confusing, because I think that they think that's what they're doing too. They think, oh, I'm turning up myself. I'm not being myself, but I'm just elevating myself. But yeah, it's like a fine line between that and then just playing a character, like just being something that's not you at all, you know? And that's dangerous.
Yeah. Because
when you do that too much, then you get used to being inauthentic.
Yeah.
You go on stage and you just kind of lie.
I'm curious. So you're a big hip hop guy.
Yeah.
What started that?
Well, with rap, I got into rap because really the poetry of it. I've always liked the poetry of hip hop. I've always found that, like, it's the level of expression one can achieve through such an art form, I think, is it's more individualistic than anything else. And I think that's, again, like a big parallel with comedy. You know, comedians, you can just give them a microphone, put them on a stage, and they will pull something out. Where, like, rap is kind of the same. Like, just give me an instrumental and just let me write what I want to write, and I will give you something, you know? And it's so dependent on my individualism, my experience. And poetry is the same. Like, the best poetry, it's drawing from the reality of you and then providing that there's a light within me, and I'm trying to relight that light within you somehow, if that's possible, you know? And I think, like, to me, that's what it's always been. You know, I listened to a little bit of, like, I never really, like, seeked out rap when I was younger. I think it just found me because my brother would listen to, like, Eminem and ICP and stuff like this. So I heard that when I was 7. Yeah. So that probably did the little number on me.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the first rap song that, like, I clicked, like, oh fuck, I love it. It was I was in elementary school. I must have been maybe 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah,
and it was around Christmas time, and I can't remember what the song was. The song was connected to a movie that had just come out, maybe Above the Rim or something. But it was Nate Dogg, Warren G. It was the Regulators, and I remember being in the minivan with with my family. And my mom would always, every time rap would come on, she would turn it off because she was like, this isn't whatever. This is why we listen to disco and R&B, listen to Luther Vandross. And
real music.
Yeah, real music. But Nate Dogg, because he has that melodic flow, she was like, okay, this is okay. And
interesting.
I remember it started as Regulators, Mount Up, and then it just goes, and it has that real, you know, being from California, it has that West Coast feeling, and it was just so dope. And, like, ever since then, hip hop for me.
Interesting, yeah. And, like, it's different for everybody. Like, I always say now, because I think I am from the wrong, like, I wouldn't be who I am if it weren't for where I am.
Okay.
But if I were rapping the same way I rap now, but in the 90s, oh my God, people would understand what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because it is of, like, a different time, that type of rap. And I think rap has went through an evolution within, like, the 2000s or so. And up to now, it's just, you can't even really pinpoint it. It's just not hip hop. It's a million other things. And so, like, it's hard to tell what rap is to other people a lot of the time. Like, when I tell people I'm a rapper, I feel like they're immediately thinking like I'm talking about hoes and chains and money, and I'm just like saying the most ignorant shit. Like, that's the first thing that comes to their mind, and I can't even blame them. You know, you just kind of have to prove yourself otherwise.
Do you know who FD Signifier is? He's a YouTuber, and he does a lot of, it's like a mixture of political stuff and hip hop stuff. And I'm assuming you paid attention to Kendrick versus Drake.
Of course, yeah.
There was a YouTube video he does that I think you'll really appreciate. It's long as fuck, but you seem crazy. And would be willing to
take that as a compliment.
Yeah, oh yeah. As an artist in particular, here's what it is. If you ever find the chance, take some time to watch that. Do it in pieces. I know it's long as fuck.
I'm with the culture feeling.
Yeah, and Is
it like a breakdown of why Kendrick, what he did resonated with people? That would be my guess.
Yeah, first it contextualizes the history of hip hop and where battle rap even comes from.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And then it contextualizes who Drake is and how his career became what it was versus who Kendrick is and how his career became what it was. Then it contextualizes the beef itself. So it does all of this setup so that you understand why Drake versus Kendrick was such a big deal. Like, I am not even playing that. I'm sincerely considering getting Not Like Us tattooed on my body. That shit meant so much to me.
And what you're saying is relevant in the sense that it's exactly what I'm saying. It's like hip hop kind of, like, Drake represents this bastardization of hip hop almost. And Kendrick represents the pure form of what hip hop used to be. Like, he's that's why Snoop Dogg culturally, like, he passed the torch. That was a big thing. Like, he passed the West Coast torch to Kendrick Lamar because Kendrick carries that spirit of like pushing hip hop forward, and what you're supposed to be doing as a rapper is pushing yourself forward, constantly trying to prove you're the best. That's what it's about. Whereas Drake is none of that. Drake is more like a pop artist that does rap music. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not quite hip hop. And so when he and Kendrick cross paths, I think that's where the big butting heads occurs, because Kendrick is a pure hip hop head, and meanwhile you got Drake, who's and then you kind of observe the way the battle plays out, where it's like Drake's kind of giving a bunch of like superficial things about Kendrick, like, oh, you're a loser, you're short, haha, like your girl, you beat your girl, I spread rumors about you, you suck. And then Kendrick's just saying, we don't like you. Kendrick is saying, we don't accept you. We're not like you at all. and he's what the culture is feeling. It really does resonate with people, because the pure hip-hop fans do feel that way. They do feel like Drake is not really, it's more of a commercial product, whereas Kendrick's not quite that. And Not Like Us kind of skewed. It's interesting how that played out, just because you can't blame Kendrick for capitalizing on the success of such a song. But I also do understand what people are saying when they're saying, like, Kendrick is playing into it a bit much, because he is. But it's also like, that's a beautiful thing. I like that roast battle is what it is, because it reminds me of the same exact competitive nature that's supposed to exist in hip hop, which is what Kendrick and Drake was, if people were tracking it, for those that did keep up with this as much as this crazy person you're watching speak right now, it was originally just going to be a fun little rap battle. And then Drake said some stuff about Kendrick's wife. And that was when everything flipped. It was when Drake started making it personal. And that's how it tends to go with rap battles. It's supposed to be fun. If people remember Control, Kendrick's verse on Control, that was in the spirit of competitive hip hop. It wasn't actually him saying anything particularly heinous. It was him just saying, like, this is what rap is. It's about being the best. And that is what it's supposed to be, you know, in my mind. And so I love a good rap beef. I really do. I wish there was more of them.
Yeah, rap is a sport.
Yeah.
And I think for me, why the whole thing was important, and why Not Like Us in particular was important, was I remember growing up as a kid, and like rap and hip hop was so fucking important to me, and it was not nearly as mainstream as it is now, obviously. And I remember being told that, that rap isn't music and it's a bunch of nonsense and this and that. And then as it became more and more commercial, all of those people who would say that are now, they have hip hop playing all the time. I've gone into country bars that are playing hip hop, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
I've become a big proponent of gatekeeping now. I'm very fine with like saying no, keep the bullshit. Like this is a pure thing, and like keep the bullshit out of it. And so not like us and saying like, I mean, there's so many layers to it, but saying like if you're not a part of this. This is special, and you're not in this. And the exclusivity of that, and feeling like you're a part of this club, this hip hop club is very it's important to me.
Yeah, and there is like an importance to maintaining a certain level of like, I don't know what the word would be.
Authenticity.
Yeah, where it's like you have to curate that, and if you just let anybody do it, and at a certain point you do have to like draw a line in the sand. Like you can't just let everything get by forever, because that type of complacency is how you get mediocrity. Like if you just allow things to get by long enough. I think that's how we've gotten to where we are, where like, it's just a whole lot. I think hip hop, the original intention is to elevate the culture. That was what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, how can I take this thing and then say so much with it and inspire people and create something within them? That's what it's supposed to be. Not just writing to write, not just writing for this exterior purpose. And I feel like when things are shallow, they come across as shallow. But you can get by doing that for a while. But in the end, real always wins. That's kind of like the story. The story as old as time.
Is there a rapper or rappers that you are trying to not emulate, or I don't want to say emulate, because obviously you want to be yourself, but
right.
I'll use myself as an example. There's some comedians that I'm trying to emulate. I'm trying to capture.
You say like role models of yours?
Yes. Yeah. Like my role models are Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Ali Sadiq, Eddie Murphy in some ways. Like these are the guys like I'm trying to do my version of what they've inspired me to do.
Yeah.
Are there rappers that you are trying to emulate, or?
Somewhat, but I think if I am, it's subconscious. Like I don't think that I really ever try to do such a thing. Like there's never a point in time where I'm thinking like, oh, I want to do what so and so did. I think I just kind of. And I don't think that's the natural course of action. I think the natural course of action would be to do what you're doing, like to pick a few things and try to learn from them, and like what is it that this person's doing that resonates with me. I think I try to go in as blind as I possibly can whenever I write anything. Like don't ever think too much about it and just do it, and then usually that's where the magic is. And then afterwards I could go back and say, oh, okay, so I could see how maybe this drew from this and this and this. But I think it's just a conglomerate of all of it, really. Like I could say there's definitely, and I think like it's the reason that I get the reaction I get, because I've been compared to all kinds of things. Like there's because I'll do different stuff with my voice and whatnot, so that's part of it. Like I might be rapping like this in one song, and then another one I'll be rapping like rapping like that. And so like the second one, you're gonna get Danny Brown no matter what. People are gonna say, "Oh, you sound like Danny Brown." The first one, like I get a lot of Kendrick comparisons, a lot of Kendrick and JID. A lot of the time. It's not like I'm trying to sound like them. It just must be that I'm inspired by them, because that's the way I tend to write. It's similar to such. It's funny because I don't even listen to JID. I was compared to him before I ever heard any of his songs. And then I'm like, oh shit, I can see exactly what they're saying. So yeah, but like role models, that's a tough one, because like I think like there's a few. I would say like Eminem in his prime, like when it was Slim Shady. There's a certain thing he was doing there that I think could still be done today, but it's like it wouldn't look the same.
because of course it wouldn't. Like, it's like a product of the late 90s is what Slim Shady was. You can't have Slim Shady now. It's impossible. But there's like what he was doing with like tapping into the cultural zeitgeist and like taking hip hop that direction. To me, that's hip hop. Taking it and putting it somewhere and showing you can do that with it when nobody really thought of it that way. You know, like, I'd like to think that what I am doing is taking hip hop and doing something with it that people aren't even used to seeing anymore. Like, there's a certain level of, like, I think Chance the Rapper, I would say he was kind of doing that, where when he was really getting big with his mixtapes, he was kind of taking rap and making it like a lyrical, precise thing and reminding people what hip hop is. And I think, like, to me, that's the stuff that really resonates. When I see people do that, and I'm like, that's because you have to remind people, like, you have to show people this is cool, you know, and there's an art to that. There's like a certain, it's the confidence is believing what you're saying, and then like, I think it's kind of like improv where you're yes-anding yourself, and then that's how you get to the best ideas. So like the artists I see do that are the ones that I think I'm following after, I would say. Yeah. I mean, what is it with those comedians that you try to emulate? Yeah.
Bill Burr's willingness to Bill Burr is humble, or excuse me, not humble. He is self-deprecating without being losing his dignity.
He's like self-deprecating without being self-loathing, right?
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. Self-deprecating without being self-loathing. He's acknowledging that he doesn't know everything. He's not perfect. He's a crazy person. But it's not like, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. I'm so sad, and I'm an embarrassing comedian, and I hate myself. He doesn't hate himself. He just he's very self-aware about that.
Yeah.
I love watching his progression as a person. Ali Sadiq and his
Bill Burr doing mushrooms and just changing his philosophy.
Right. I don't know if you know Ali Sadiq, but
no,
he's
I've heard his name.
He is one of the, I wouldn't call him underground. He's Ali Sadiq. I love his grittiness. I love the fact that he's an intimidating person. He went to prison for like 4 or 5 years and is like not to be fucked with, and makes it very clear. Like, a lot of comedians love to get on stage and try to make themselves come off as weak.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I'm not about that.
That seems more popular now than ever.
Yeah, this how do I put it? Like they're almost like having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
You want to be the person on stage that everyone's paying attention to and is respecting, but you also want to be someone that, you feel bad for him with the jokes, and it's like, no. I love if you ever watch Ali Sadiq and you watch him talk about like prison and what it's like, you can get this, he's not joking.
Yeah.
And his sense of confidence is like, self-confidence is unmatched, and that comes from a place of a history of like violence, and you can get this feeling from him that if you were to try to fight him, he'll fuck you up. And I love that. You don't see that with a lot of comedians. And then Chris Rock, he was one of the first comics that I just watched growing up, and I loved his energy and his perspective. He would take perspectives that were just so nuanced and intelligent and thoughtful, and made me feel seen and heard at the time.
Yeah.
And then Chappelle is his lackadaisical is not the right word, but he has the ability to I would actually say similar to Kendrick in storytelling. He has the ability to. Dave Chappelle is really good at not being funny and you still being engaged.
Right.
And I think I also want to emulate that. So all of these little pieces from these guys is what I want in myself and how I try to approach comedy.
But at the same time, though, like, are you considering all of that when you write a joke? Or, like, how do you think those elements come together in your comedy?
I used to I used to try to consider that when I was writing. I remember,
Because I think it's easy to fall into that trap, right?
yes, and it was just like with any sense of process or growing, you have to try to do things wrong, and then you figure out the new better way to do it, and then eventually that becomes wrong, and you keep moving. But I remember with Bill Burr in particular, this is so stupid. At the time, this was years ago, this was before I moved to Chicago. At the time, I thought to myself, Bill Burr likes sports. He talks about sports and comedy. I like movies. I will talk about movies and comedy. And what I didn't understand was that was a very clunky and unnatural way to think about writing jokes.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I stopped thinking about it like that, and I started I let go of the idea of what I should be referencing, and then I would just naturally reference it, and then my personality just came out a little more naturally. I know I'm not wording that in a way that's very clear, and if you have a way to kind of clean that up, that I'm listening. Because I know that sounded super fucking all over.
You got to make it universal, right? Is that kind of it? Like, you kind of have to communicate it in a universal way that people who they haven't seen the movie, they don't like the movie, but they can understand what you're trying to say.
I think, okay. Yes and no.
Okay.
I think that you have to make things so personal to yourself that it comes all the way back around to being universal.
Yes.
I think Seth Rogen said something about that, where the more specific your jokes are, or the more specific your jokes and perspective is to you, ironically, the more universal it becomes to other people. And then the more you try to make things universal, the less connecting it can become.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That does make sense in this weird roundabout way.
For example, Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Very specific, generally. His films, I mean, when I think of Martin Scorsese, I think of New York, I think of gangsters, and I think of Italians and Irish people.
Yeah.
I am none of those things, but Goodfellas is a fucking masterpiece.
Right.
And it is so very specific to Italian, Irish, mob culture, specifically in the 70s and the 80s. And yet I relate to it. It's so, like, it's threading a needle through such a small niche perspective. But when I think of Tommy and I think of Funny How, I know guys who are kind of like that, but there's my version of it. It's like he's tapped into something so unique to him and his upbringing that it relates to mine, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it's kind of like that yes-anding yourself thing. Like, I think, like, by following your ideas to their natural conclusion, that becomes the truthful thing, and that's what comes through more than anything. But it just seems so confusing, like, to actually understand it beyond that, because it seems counterintuitive to do such a thing. To be so niche seems like you would scare people away. Seems like that, yeah. But I guess not.
Danny Brown. I mean, what a specific way of rapping Danny Brown has. It's a very specific voice, a very specific cadence, a very specific energy, and yet he makes a living. Tyler, the Creator. Jesus Christ. Like, what a very unique guy that does not fit the mold, and yet he is, according to him, number 2 under Kenny. But like, yeah, I think, I mean, it comes down to the one word that I'm really trying to connect to myself is authenticity. Just be you.
Right.
And that's hard to be when you're an entertainer, because you're people pleasing. That's your natural instinct.
Right. I mean, I think, like, I always try to take as many constraints off of myself as possible. Like I said, like, when I'm writing things, I don't try to think of it any which way, because I think, like, that's where you fall into, that's where things start to go wrong. Like, say I'm writing a song and I start to think, oh, this is like this kind of song. Immediately I've made a mistake. Like, I shouldn't even be thinking this is a rap song when I'm making a rap song. I should just be thinking I'm making a song. And then through that, I learn what to do. Because I just think people naturally learn to put themselves in some kind of box. Or they think, oh, I can't do this because of this. Like, they're going to feel this type of way. Even with the podcast, like, I think a lot of podcasts what I see happen is
people think they're supposed to be doing it a certain way, and so they don't follow natural instincts. They kind of do a showy type thing, like, oh, this needs to be a production. And now that it's becoming oversaturated like everything else, you'll see everybody's got a podcast, including a lot of people who they're not really fans of podcasts. They haven't listened to them for a long time. They're just doing them. And so through that, you get kind of stilted conversations and these things. And I think it's just a false premise is what it, if you want to boil it down to one problem, it's that they're not doing it just to talk to somebody. Like, they're putting strings on it from the start. They're like, oh, we can't mention this. When I first started doing interviews, I learned that's what I do so well is I don't do any of that stuff. And I just naturally don't do it. So, like, I would do this thing called 60 Seconds with. And it was like, the reason it all started is because I was standing outside with a band right after we had performed in Chicago, of all places. I'm from Michigan, but we came to Chicago. And so we were standing outside the venue. They're waiting for their Uber. And we say, like, oh, we could do an interview with you guys, 60 minutes with, but the Uber's on their way. So somebody says, oh, 60 seconds with. And I go, that's genius. And so then I just film like a quick interview with them as fast as I possibly can. And then later what it evolved into is I would show up. I was a completely free interview. And I'd do my research on the person, research being like, it really doesn't take much. Like 30 minutes of just looking at their social media, you'll come up with some good questions if you're curious, if you allow your curiosity to thrive. And so, you'd show up, you'd have thoughtful questions if you did it right. And it's funny because, like, to me, they're not that thoughtful. It's just like a basic, I'm just asking a question I would ask based on what I saw. And they're like, oh my God, because it's like you asked something about a post they posted 2 years ago. They get all excited. It really is not hard to wow people in the interview world. I'm telling you. Nardwuar is going the extra mile, but honestly, I think all he's doing is making phone calls. I really don't think it's as complicated as people think it is. But they think it's espionage. It's not.
I think that there is a. I think the reason people are so surprised by that. I like film. Are you a Tarantino guy?
Oh yeah.
Pulp Fiction, when Uma Thurman and John Travolta are in the diner, and she talks about how, like, a lot of the times people are just waiting for their turn to talk. I think the best way to interview somebody, or the way to get that feeling of like, oh wow, is like what Nardwuar does, is sincerely investing in what a person has to say and not just waiting for your turn to start blabbing.
Yeah.
I think that's how you connect with people, and people don't listen. People don't actually, and from what I've seen, people don't actually give a shit about what somebody is having to say generally.
Which I think actually is the natural inclination, because I think naturally it takes mind power to listen and to care, Like, It's actually worse if you do care what everybody's saying, because then you'd care too much. You fall into that where it's like, oh, well, now I'm... Like, then you become the guy that sticks around for 2 extra hours because you care so much about what this person's telling you. And afterwards, you're like, I didn't have to do that.
Do you feel like you care a lot about what people think of you?
Not what they think of me. No, I don't care at all what people think of me. I don't care even the slightest bit. In a song I recently said, it never works when you say you're sorry. I never do it. I never wanted to make them want me. And I like that a lot because it's like, if I'm being genuine, if I'm being real, and I know my intents are pure, why would it matter what you think of what I'm doing? Like, truly, why would it matter to me? And also, if I know there's people who love me, I know that if I go and I have all these people that I know I can talk with and they're fine. If I meet one person that doesn't like me, that doesn't mean everyone doesn't like me. And so to me, that's always like the constant thing. It's like there's always going to be somebody who doesn't. It's naturally the case. Like if you're doing anything, especially if you're doing something creative, people will not like what you're doing. They will actively hate on you. They will go out of their way to be mean.
Yeah.
And you just have to, that's the way the world is. Especially if you're doing something of value. They will not like it. Even, no matter what it is, you could think it's the most pure, humanitarian, best thing you could ever do. It's going to help people. Someone will find a way to spin it and make you the bad person.
Yeah.
It's okay. In the end, it's okay. It's not about making people like me. It's about connecting with people. Like, truly, I just want to connect with people. That's all I've ever wanted. And so, like, like, and that's what I was saying with the interviews is I wasn't putting these constraints on it. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I have to show up and be all formal, and I would just show up and do exactly what we're doing right here, right now, except I'm filming you and we're doing an interview. So it's like, even when they would answer a question and I would actually like put the camera down for like 2 minutes, like talk to them about their answer because I want to expand on that. And sometimes through doing that, they'll say something else that is on camera, and that was like a good little, like I led them to that. And I think truly that's what we're doing most of the time when we talk to each other. We're just leading each other down different pathways, and we're helping each other get to new ideas if we're doing it right. If we're talking with each other and not at each other, that's what happens. I think then you do get to a new place. But it's only if you're both doing that, you know, and it takes two to tango, but it takes one person to lead that tango, right? So one person does kind of have to set that stage. And like, to me, that's like the best podcasts, the best conversations. Like, that's what it is. It's having kind of just a loose enough approach to where, and also if you're paying attention, people will want to talk about certain things. They will like have certain areas that they specialize in. And if you like railroad a conversation, they will never get there. Like, they just won't, because we're going to be talking about whatever is on my mind today. And I know it's on my mind. I live inside of it, you know? And so like, to me, I don't want to do that. I don't even want to, because that's boring. Like, I would rather explore whatever it is that you have going on, because that is the sense of discovery. Like, that's where I find it. And that's why I like doing, I mean, I'm sure you kind of probably have the same thing when you talk with people, because you have that natural curiosity. I'm sure it's the same thing where you ask the right questions and then you get an answer you could have never expected, you know? And like you said about creative people, they're all crazy. So like, the way that they come to these conclusions, you could never predict half the time. That's why I like asking the questions, because they might say something like you find to be outlandish. You're like, why do you feel that way? And then they'll like give you these mental gymnastics on how they got there, and all of a sudden everything makes sense. And you're like, okay. So I find humanity to be infinitely interesting, and like, you know, I think that I thought that was the natural way to go, but I actually think it's the opposite. Like, I always thought that what I was doing was like the human thing, but I actually think it's the more normal thing is to not care so much and to kind of be more self-interested and selfish. Like, I think therapy, that's what therapy is, truly. It's a therapist guiding you through your own ideas. Like, they are helping you to recognize the patterns within yourself when they're doing their job the best. Like, you don't really want a therapist who's putting these things on top of you and making like kind of, because that can happen easily, where they'll misinterpret things, or maybe I think that's where bad therapy comes from, is like when a therapist is kind of reading too far into things, whereas like it should be as simple as like, sometimes therapy is literally just letting someone talk for an hour and like barely saying anything. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's the opposite, but like a lot of the time people just need to vent, and they actually figure things out themselves. Almost always, if you just let them figure it out, they actually can, unless they're legitimately full on crazy, which those exist too. You know, those guys, you might need to swerve them a little bit, just a little bit of swerving, just a little bit. But like, yeah. So I don't know. I just find people to be endlessly like, I could never predict what a person is going to do or say, and so to me, that's the fun part. Always is just. It's about them. It's not even about me. I could care less what anyone thinks about me. Like, do you find yourself worrying what people think about you?
I used to care about that a lot, especially growing up, trying to people please and trying to make sure people were, for lack of a better word, comfortable around me. I grew up in it was a very racist place, and there was a moment. You know how you have these moments in life that like stick with you.
Yeah.
I remember I was dating this girl. She was white, and her dad white, obviously. And we didn't have the word Karen for it, but that was what it was. I was just being harassed, and I was venting, and her dad said, I'll never forget this. Her dad said, "Well, Aaron, it's your responsibility to make people comfortable." Like that was the space that I was living around was they're uncomfortable because of my presence, and I'm required to make everyone comfortable. And when you're a kid and you have grown adults telling you that, you internalize that. And then as time went on, especially as of recent, I could care very little about what people think about me, but I do care about how people feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, what would be a good example? Like, if I have a joke that's, I don't know, particularly if I'm talking about rape,
yeah,
and the joke's getting laughs and it's doing whatever, but then I meet somebody or someone comes up to me and is upset by the joke because maybe they have been raped or molested. I do not care what they think about the joke because I know what I'm doing as a comedian. I know that the joke is good. But I do care emotionally about how they feel. I'm not going to necessarily stop telling the joke, but I can understand why a person would feel some type of way, and I just care about people's feelings and their emotional state, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, and like the thing is, I think like having such a solid vision can make you blind to your own biases in a way. So that's kind of the part, is you do have to check yourself sometimes. Because you can't, it's very easy to miss when you make someone feel some type of way. And you could just explain that away and rationalize it like, oh, well, that's not my fault. It's not my fault they felt that way, but maybe it is. And like one principle comedy does teach you is never blame the audience. You can't blame them for their reaction.
Yeah.
So maybe you do have to kind of reconcile that at the very least. Like, yeah, everybody laughed, but why did you feel that way? Because maybe there is something about like the phrasing that could have been switched, or just this little change that would make you seem a little bit more sympathetic. Like maybe you came across as non-sympathetic. And so people who actually experience such a thing, they're like, oh, that's funny, but he clearly doesn't care. Like it could be little things that are just like tiny tweaks that you can make. Or it could be none of that, and it could just be somebody who's having a bad day. But you have to ask them that question to even figure that out.
Yeah. And I'm glad. It's nice to be in a place where you care far less about how people think of you, because that's it's very stressful.
Yeah.
When I first moved to Chicago, my thought process was like, I'm going to be very quiet and I'm not going to get into any confrontation. And that didn't fucking work. I've been here going on 5 years now, and I definitely have some people I cannot fucking stand, and vice versa. And I just came to realize that, like you're saying, you could be the nicest person on earth, you can be as understanding, you can be open, you can be willing to communicate, you can be willing to admit that you're wrong, you can be all these things, but you're dealing with people, and people are kind of unpredictable. And so now I came to realize that confrontation is inevitable, and it's just a matter of staying true to yourself and authentic during that confrontation, and that's all you have.
And that's why having like a strong sense of who you are is so important, I feel like when you approach such a confrontation, you have to know what you are, or else you can be shaken by such a thing. Like it's so easy to be like, oh my God, am I an asshole? Like that. And for me, that's why I'm so glad I found music early enough, because it really is like me. I think poetry and music and having like writing at my helm, like knowing I'm capable of that, I've proven to myself I know what I am. I've proven to myself I can do amazing things. And so if you tell me that you don't like me, it doesn't matter, because I'm certain in what I am. Like you could never take this away from me. There is literally no way you could take it away, because I did it all myself. I figured it out myself, and I've made myself better, and I know all of that going into any situation. And so sure, I might be wrong, but I know I'm capable of great things, And like I think people who don't have that, they can't rest on that, it becomes much harder to approach such a thing, because maybe they are right. Like maybe I don't have maybe I'm not who I think I am, And I think that's like the eternal struggle of human existence, is the existential crisis of reality. What am I?
Yeah. How do you go about do you do book shows as a rapper?
Yeah. More and more now. Yeah.
Okay. How do you go about that?
So like, Really, my natural philosophy towards everything is things will just fall into place. But I do need to take more initiative with that, because what I want to start doing is booking like comedy, music type events. I know enough comedians now to where I know I could do it. I mean, I've done, since I started doing them with comedians, it was around episode 97, right around there, and we're on episode 158 today. So it's right around like 50 comics for sure. I know. I bet at least 10 of them guaranteed they would do a show. Probably, comics are desperate. Probably all of them would do the show. Every single one that's been on the show would probably do it. I know how desperate you guys are, but like, and I don't even. I could pay them $10 in a hot pocket, and they'll all show up.
Why do you think those comedians that you talk to have that sense of desperation? Like, why don't you think? I don't know which comedians you're thinking of, so this is not me speaking to anyone directly, but why do you think they don't have that sense of integrity for themselves?
Because I think that it's like rap, where it's like when you're starting out, like when you're doing, you could do mics for years, but you still don't get booked, and there's no clear path. So they don't know, and like I've learned there are things comics are supposed. What I always say to the comics in general is like, it seems pretty obvious to me, the path. It seems like you have to hang out at open mics a little bit. You have to mingle a little bit. You have to make friends. Doing this podcast, it's like naturally I'm going to meet people, so I'm already doing it. But if you don't have something like that, you have to find a way to do that, to just connect with them on an individual level, because you'll see people complain. They'll be like, oh, it's hard to get booked because it's like an inside circle. Like, you have to know people. It's all about who you know, and then they say it's gatekeeping. Is it gatekeeping, or is that just the way everything is? Because it seems like you do have to know people. It's all about connections. It's who you know. That's always been the case. Like, of course, there's going to be like the classic old school producer who only books people. He goes to open mics and he sees them and they're talented. But then there's other people who are only going to book the people that are their friends. Of course they are. They know they're reliable. They know they're good. They know that they're not going to bomb. They're not going to take their show and do something with it they're not expecting. They know this person, which is like a sense of security you need if you're putting together a show. Most of the time, the people who are complaining about this type of stuff, they've never produced a show before, so they don't actually understand. It's not as simple as, oh, let's just book all these fresh faces every single time. That's way easier said than done. And so, like, I get the sense that and most comedians have been conditioned to be okay with getting paid $20, $30 for a show, because that's just the way it is. And so I think that type of stuff creates that desperation of like, I need to get booked and I need to accept I'm not going to make money. And like, that's just the environment we live in.
How, for these, you said 50 comics? Roughly?
About 50, roughly, yeah.
Are they all like newer to the game? And when I say
Some.
When I say newer, I'm saying a year to, we'll say 5 years.
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part. Because that's just the general pool of people, I feel like. And I think that changes naturally. Like, it's hard to put myself in perspective, right? I think that, like I said, things fall into place, and I kind of follow that principle. So I already know. If I do a bunch of open mics, or if I do a bunch of podcasts with people, maybe I met at an open mic, I know so-and-so who knows so-and-so, eventually that snowballs into doing it with the veteran comedians who have been doing it for 10 years because they see 5 different people they've seen on the show. That's just how it happens. But I think because of the fact that I've been following that method, it has been a lot of like starting being 3 to 5 years, comics that are earlier in that pathway for sure. Because that is where you're going to see that. People who they haven't achieved the level of success they think that they're supposed to be at. You see a lot of that for sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a struggle. It's a knife fight out here.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting your perception, general you, when you're like new to comedy. This feeling, this entitlement's not the right word, but this feeling of like, why am I not getting all the things? I think that was a thing I struggled with for a while, of like, why am I not getting me?
And the actual truth usually is you're just not ready yet. That's almost always what it is.
People don't know you, or or you haven't been around long enough, or maybe you need to work harder. There's a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah.
And it's just easy. It's a, performers are fucking egomaniacal people. What are you gonna do?
And the problem is that's useful to an extent. You do have to have like that craziness, that deranged, like I know my vision. Like you do have to have a certain amount of that to achieve that success. It's just also having humility with that. It's that yin and yang. That ultimately makes that circle of balance. But how do you balance those two? Because you can easily go too far down one way. Oh, I'm the genius. You guys don't understand. I'm actually super talented. I should be getting booked. Or you go too far the other way, and now you're the self-deprecating person who is self-loathing. I hate all this. I hate this. Why am I not achieving this success? Like I don't even want to do this anymore. Like why is it that I'm constantly doing this and nothing ever happens? And you just have to do it over and over a million times. That's literally the only possible way out. Just keep following that. And again, like connecting with people. Like that's the part I think that is lost on a lot of folks, is just make those connect. Just focus on that. And actually that's the part that when you do achieve whatever success that you're wanting right now, you're going to look back and you're actually going to reminisce like, oh, I liked it better when I was just making connections with everybody and just chilling and having fun. There's less pressure on that than there is like, okay, now I need to maintain the success that I've achieved. That's way more stressful than just having fun and making connections and making friends. And so but we think outside of ourselves. So, oh, but I want this. Oh, I want this. Like, it's nice to just be in those starting stages in a way.
Is there a running theme that you see with the comedians you've had on? Like a connecting, like, oh, this is what they all seem to be like, or...
No, not quite. Not quite. I think that because it's Chicago, you get a nice group of characters. Like because you're in a city like this, you do have a nice round, diverse set of people. And that's what you'll see generally speaking when you go to shows and mics. You tend to get a non-homogeneous set of people. Whereas I don't think that would be quite the case in a lot of other comedy communities. Like maybe in the major cities it would be similar, but most other places probably not quite. Like, if you're in like a smaller, like let's say...
The burbs?
The burbs, yeah. Or say even like Detroit, Michigan, it's probably different. Say where I'm from, I think Battle Creek, I've met a few comedians who came from there, if I'm getting it right. And I just can't imagine the scene there would be the same. I think St. Louis has a comedy scene. I can't imagine that's quite like Chicago, because Chicago's kind of a hub. It's one of those hub cities that you see a lot of people. And also, I think Ryan Raymond pointed this out to me because I didn't really realize this. It's kind of like Chicago is, you got LA, you got New York, and then you got Chicago. So it's probably a lot of people who didn't want to go to LA, didn't want to go to New York, so they went to Chicago. And so you're getting those people, the leftover people in this way. So yeah, I feel like it's hard to say. What's that?
Ryan Raymond?
Ryan Raymond. His name on Instagram is Naked Raymond. Ramun. Yes, that guy there. Cool guy. Very cool guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's hard to pinpoint because it's hard to say exactly any like running similar thing. Like, do you think that there's like a certain pattern you see with like starting comics like within that 3 to 5 year range? Like, is there a shift you see occur a lot of the time the more and more people do comedy? Like, if you had to pinpoint what that change is, the more and more years they do it.
They become calmer. From what I've seen.
How long have you done comedy for, by the way?
10 years.
Okay.
When I say that shit,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think where I started, I think my progression as a comic was very, very slow where I started because I was in a smaller space. And then since moving to Chicago, it's kind of like fast-tracked it a lot more. The past 4 or 5 years has been... anime? Do you give a fuck about anime?
A little bit.
Hyperbolic Time Chamber.
No, I don't know.
Okay, it's all right. Dragon Ball Z references, all you fucking nerds out.
But that's what it's like. You're in a hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah, going from Riverside, California, and the level and quality of comedy out there to Chicago was like, oh, the pressure is on, and now you have to live up to that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that what I see with newer comics is excitement. There's like an excitement, like a youthful excitement, which is really dope to see. Like they're like getting nervous for an open mic is something that I think is really funny now. I understand why, but like you save all them nerves for the show where people are paying you. You're not lose. There's nothing to lose at an open mic.
Yeah.
But that the nerves about an open mic, this is just a pet peeve of mine because I'm me, trying really hard to be funny. Like not even just on stage, just the
that I've noticed. That for sure.
Yeah.
And especially because they're on a podcast. So I've noticed people they're trying to entertain. I've noticed that a lot. And I'm just trying to have a conversation. So it's almost like they're interfering with what we're doing. Like almost. In a way I kind of like it because it's fun, but in another way it's like, all right, you're kind of like stepping on my toes here. Because everything becomes a bit. Like they're trying to be funny. And I've noticed that even with like comics like talking in circles. Everybody's trying to one up each other. That's like a starting comic thing?
It's a starting I think it's a starting comic thing, and it's quality. Like there's vets who do that shit that are very good at it.
Yeah,
and I love watching it.
Then it's like seamless. Then it doesn't come off as forced.
Doesn't come off as forced or irritating. But when newer comics do it, it personally is grating. Because I'm like, yeah, just write some shit and say it on stage. Like I'll just talk to you. If something's funny, it'll be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that I'll see a lot. Or like when I hate January. I don't know how music works, the music scene, but I fucking hate January and early February for comedy.
Because there's new comics, right?
Every fucking January, someone lost a bet, or they have a New Year's resolution or a bucket list thing.
It's like the gym.
And then they all show up to the open mics. And then I watch a bunch of stuff about rape and stuff. And then
you see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah, and then
the edgelords all pop out in January.
every January, the open mic at Laugh Factory becomes insane because every new person thinks that they're going to go to the Laugh Factory, they're going to get picked to go up, they're going to do the 3 minutes, and a producer is going to love them, and then they're going to get a show, and then they're going to get a sitcom, and Home Improvement 2, more improved, or whatever the fuck they think in their heads, and it's a lot of fucking delusion.
Yeah.
And you have to be delusional. You have to have the audacity when you first start, but you also need to have some talent. There's some people where I'm like, God, like, fuck, go play with toy train sets or something. Like this is not what you should be doing. And I think like you know, I don't want to discourage anybody. Do it if this is what you want to do. But fuck, when you're just hanging out at an open mic around January, it's the worst. It's just the worst.
Because there's a lot of that, just a lot of mediocrity, a lot of people who are just doing it to do it, not doing it for the craft of it, and there's almost like a honeymoon phase feeling in the air with these people, where like they have rose tinted glasses still. They think that it's just gonna be easy and it'll all fall into place, when you know the reality. Like, oh, they have no idea. Like they don't know what this is yet.
Yeah. And it's fine. It's like you got to learn, and it's part of the game. And there are some people. Do you know who Ken Flores was?
Yeah.
There's a guy. Ken Flores was like an anomaly in how his career was going, which was hit some open mics, immediately started getting booked, and was hilarious from day one, and was just. Every goddamn show would just pop.
How long was he doing comedy for?
Fucking 6 years, maybe.
Okay.
4, 5, 6 years. Like, insane growth. Like, completely unrealistic, and to expect that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are not Ken Flores. Like, a lot of people think they're funny around their friends. They're going to be hilarious on stage, and you're not. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I was one of those people too. But you just have to respect the grind. And a lot of people, Cat Williams, what was it? I think it's Cat Williams Live, talked about people trying to skip steps. I think he said, I think the joke was something like, yeah, I saw a Toyota, a 1997 Toyota with spinning rims or something, a spinning hubcap. That's what it was, spinning hubcaps. And it's like, you are skipping steps. Stop it. You put the work in, earn the spinning rims. Stop trying to get the spinning hubcaps. And yeah, I will not go anywhere near the Laugh Factory mic in January. I just can't fucking do it anymore.
See, like when I was talking with Jason Melton, I had a great conversation with him because he was giving me kind of the same type of wisdom where it's like, I just started going to open mics. As we record this, it's now April. I started going in October of last year. And so it's like it's like a learning curve, right? Understanding what I'm even looking at. Because at first, you don't even know what you're seeing. And then the more and more you go to shows, you go to mics, you're like, oh, so this is like that. Because I sort of understood, but now I really understand. Like, he was kind of telling me, like, you got to understand, there's people at these mics who we are suffering through them. We're suffering through this. And what you're doing is you're providing them a platform with your show. You need to stop doing this. That's kind of what he was saying. And I was saying, like, no, you don't understand. I see the human in them. But, like, in a way, I already had an inkling of that going on in my head, where it's like, you can only do that so much. You can only give people so much rope, because eventually they are going to have to figure it out themselves. And like, you don't want to be everybody's savior. You don't want to be the person that's showing everybody how to do it, because there are plenty of people who will never figure it out. They're never going to. They should just be working on model trains. Like, they didn't need to be there. And so it's like, you know, and it's the same thing with rap. Like, I have friends who I can tell, like, they're talented, they have potential even, but they've proven it to me over and over again. They're never going to do the things they have to do that are required for them to be successful, because they're just not. And I want to believe that everybody's capable of great things. Like, that's what I want to believe. But I think being in an industry long enough, it kind of destroys you a little bit. You become disillusioned by it, and you don't have those innocent, rosy tinted glasses anymore, because now you see it for what it is. It's just a whole lot of people it's a fad for them. It's not something that's going to stick around, and they have to prove that it matters to them before you even start giving them opportunities. You have to believe them, because anybody can go out there and do anything for a month. Anybody can go out there and do anything for a couple months. But it's like having that fortitude to actually stick with it, that really, and also proving yourself constantly over and over again. Like, these are the things that matter. Not even just the fact that you're a cool guy. It's like being able to adapt that part of you into the art form, you know? Because like you said, there's plenty of people who are funny around their friends. They're a good hang, but they don't need to be doing comedy.
I remember
they're a good podcast. They're not a good comedian.
I remember back home there was this guy, Man Spider. I never knew. Yeah,
bro.
Never found out his real name. He would get on every
fucking name.
Yeah, every Tuesday I would look at the list and I'd be like, "Fuck, on deck. We got Man Spider," and he would come on stage every single night. He would come on stage. He would yell. He would do like a going Super Saiyan mode, and he would yell, "Man Spider!" And then he would rip his shirt, and then he would just yell for 3-4 minutes, and then he would get off stage.
That guy's going places.
Oh yeah, we had. When I tell you, the comedians, we had a woman. We had an open mic, and there was this woman who was at the bar, wasted.
Yeah, she's
clearly drunk. And she had a tank top with no bra and her nipples like hanging out. And she is, this is gonna be gross, but she's like picking at her at her pubes. Like she had no underwear. She had this like these like 70s basketball shorts, and she's picking at herself on stage.
Oh my God.
And you can see the comedian like hyenas watching her and like, oh God, I think I can fuck her if I'm getting her to laugh. It's like not even playing. And eventually
That's another thing you'll see at open mics.
oh yeah, it's gross. And eventually the comics started commenting on it while on set because you can't not notice it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And she walks on stage. She eventually cuts one of the comics off. She walks on stage, takes the mic, explains that she's a porn star, and flashes everybody, gives her handle. We all are like, well, we gotta look this up. And sure enough, she was. And so many of those comics were trying to fuck her afterwards. It's like, she's picking crabs out of her fucking pussy right now. Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, open mics, it's funny and it's exciting at first. And then as time goes on, you're like, this is just degeneracy.
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Man Spider and that lady probably not. I hope the best for her. But yeah. So you just get jaded, man. I'm telling you. Just get jaded.
One thing I'll say is I do think it's like more true to reality than like a curated show. Like the things you'll see at an open mic are actually closer to like the cold reality of everyday life than like a show where everybody's good.
Yeah. Everybody being good is not indicative of the reality of people. Yeah.
Yes. You'll actually get a false impression, you know?
Yeah.
But that's why it's important for if you are an open mic comic, you do still have to go to shows. You have to like see it at its best, like where comedians shine. Because like also one thing is the energy in the room is so fucking different at an open mic. At an open mic, it's kind of like
sad.
It's kind of sad. And also the comics kind of like, they don't want to laugh. It's kind of like a challenge. Like they're all like kind of mad at you for getting them to laugh in a way. Because we all want to like, I want to be the funniest and you're not funny, I'm funny. It's just like this weird competitive thing in the air. Whereas like if you're at a show, everybody's trying to have fun and laugh. They're just going to have a good time.
What you just described, that mentality, is to me a new open mic. That's a new comedian mentality.
That right there?
Yes, because I think a vet goes to an open mic and thinks to themselves, I just want to work out this idea. They're not even it's not a competition. They're not even thinking about that.
Right.
That to me, that mentality, that is a new open mic mentality. If you are sitting at an open mic and you are thinking, I want to be better than this, I want to do, and instead of thinking, I wonder if this punchline is going to work, then you're probably very new because you still give a shit about what happens at an open mic. It does not fucking matter.
It's purely inconsequential.
It is.
It's like a filler episode.
Yeah. You're there. You're just there to work out the thing. That's all it's not a competition.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's. Should I open that for?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, she'll keep trying for a while.
That's an indicator to me of somebody who's new at comedy, which is again fine. Everyone has their experiences.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's so sad because I want to be a lover forever. I think this world's gonna turn me into a hater. I really think it's inevitable. I think it's impossible, and like I truly do see the best in everybody. But the problem is, like, there's limited resources, there's limited mind power, there's limited everything. You can't and like it's like what I was saying about caring too much about people. You can't care about everyone. You can't. At a certain point, you have to be like, he's a cool guy. I like talking to him, but I can't I'm not investing in his career, you know? Like, that's not going to change.
Your statement is hitting me in my soul right now.
It hurts.
Back home, I was irritating. I used to, as soon as a new person would show up, all right, here's what you got to do. You got to do this, this, and this. And it's like, why? It doesn't stop. Leave people alone. Let them do their thing.
And 99% of people will not take your advice.
They will not. They don't care. They won't do it. And it's a waste of your time and theirs. And is incredibly presumptuous. It was incredibly presumptuous of me to think to myself, I'll teach them. Fucking not my business. And then as time goes on, I think when money starts to become a factor, and I'm not talking like a $20 like bar show, when like real money's on the line and you have to pay rent, it changes your mentality. I had 2 years ago, I had it was summer, so I wasn't working. And I'm an American Sign Language interpreter, by the way. It's my day job.
Good for you.
Yeah, not anymore. The government's being torn apart, and it is affecting my job.
Oh, really? Directly. That affects the sign language people?
Yeah, because you're getting it's federal money that is... So you have the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Right.
And it's connected to federal funding. So anybody with a disability is legally obligated to be provided whatever they need to make sure that they can function in society. So, for example, wheelchair ramps, that's funded by the federal government and the ADA. Interpreters, generally funded by government stuff.
Okay.
Because we're expensive. Because like a random deaf person is not going to have the money to pay me directly for 2 hours at whatever situation they're in.
Right.
So the federal government gets slashed. Then that money gets slashed, and then
and all that trickles down.
It all trickles down. What is it? The Department of Education being dismantled. That's connected directly to me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm pretty fucked right now, and I'm very angry about that.
That's a bummer, dude. Because like I was gonna say, it's a good thing you exist, just because you need those guys, right? You need sign language people.
Yeah, sure do.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck.
Damn, dude.
I took the job. I learned sign language because everyone was like, there will always be a job for you. Yeah. Clearly, I was mistaken. But that's besides the point.
You're going to be in a mansion somewhere now. Like now you'll have the most expensive clientele.
So basically interpreters, I specialize through schools.
Yeah.
So if summers and winters, I'm generally not working. And I'm not in a good financial place. I wasn't in a good financial place before, and now it's gotten worse. But that's besides the point. So it's summer, I'm not working, and
that's what happens when you follow your dreams, kids.
This is
you
what
end
it
up in
looks
financial turmoil.
Does this body language look happy to you? No, I am a happy person now.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny.
But it's summer, I'm not working, I am struggling, and it was the very first time I had paid rent with comedy. And I want to say I paid it, no, it was before September. What is August, September? I don't know. I had 2 months to go before I got back to work. So that first month, I paid my rent through stand-up comedy. I had never felt such a mixed feeling in my life. Part of me was like, holy shit, I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing.
Yeah.
I paid rent through, and you know, that's not insignificant. Like, that's crazy amount of money to be able to get through just your art form. And then there's other piece of me that, like, my stomach started to turn, where I was like, oh no, if I don't pull this hat trick off again, I'm fucked. Right. I need to make this money now. This isn't like fun. And it really shifted how I looked at this. It really, like, I'm sure everybody's, if you're trying to make a living at this, everyone's got to experience it at some point. But there is this liminal space that you can meet where it's just a game and it's fun. We make $20 at a bar. Then it's like, oh, I need this money to survive. And then hopefully you get over that eventually. I'm not there. That it becomes abundance and you're making enough money where you don't have to worry about it. But this moat, where there's alligators and snakes that you're trying to get through to get to this part, this shit is like not a fucking game. And it really tears at your innocence of all of it.
How so, though? Like, what changes does that make? I imagine you'd be more defensive.
You're more defensive. You're more cutthroat.
Yeah.
It's like, theoretically, there's enough pie for everybody. But if it seems like someone's trying to take some of my pie, it's like, no. This is my pie. It's scarier. It's when people start to, I'm going to preface by saying I'm not fucking famous by any stretch, but I am starting to get a little bit of a fan base, a little bit of following.
Right.
I've had people show up to shows and come up to me afterwards like, oh man,
came for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck, you paid money to be... Like, this isn't an open... This is why I said, like, if you're a new comic and you give a fuck about an open mic, that's how I know you're a new comic.
Right.
Because nobody's paying money to be here. It doesn't matter. It's a Monday. It's 5 o'clock. It's still bright out. Nobody gives a shit. But when it's Saturday and somebody had to put their kids away and they had to save up money and they had to get a date and they paid for drinks, and now they're looking at you saying, make me laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, this is serious. And you have to click in this thing where on stage you have to be lighthearted and this doesn't matter. But you also need to understand, like, this really matters. And if I bomb, now it's like, not only did I fuck up that person's night, they wasted their money. To the booker, it's like, I don't know if I'm going to book this guy again. Everything becomes heavier. Yeah, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And that's kind of like the downside of any success. Like that's why I put that in perspective earlier. Like it's actually more fun when you're in those starting stages and you never realize it. Like it's so, I think she's actually scratching that box out there. Okay. Most of the time it's impossible to have that hindsight. But if you pay attention to any successful person when they're asked, like, how does it feel? Like, once you've achieved all the success, they're never happy about it, like, ever. But it's so hard to relate to because you're the non-famous person listening to the famous person. So you're like, what are they talking about? They have all these things that I wish I could have. They have all these opportunities that I couldn't even dream of having, but they're complaining? Like, that's the disconnect, when truly what they're saying is, like, you don't want this. Like, if you had this, you'd realize the pressure it places on every decision you make. People are always paying attention. People are always wondering, And so, like, that's why I think it's so important to have that basic foundational approach from the jump. It doesn't matter what people are saying. Like, just focus on you. Just focus on making yourself as good as you can make yourself, and then everything else will fall into place. Don't focus on all that exterior stuff, because if you do that too much, that will destroy you.
I can add to this, and I can use hip-hop, which I think you'll appreciate.
I sure will.
Biggie Smalls, more money, more problems.
Yeah, right.
When it's open mic with no money involved, there's whatever. When it's a bar show where it's like $20, it's like, oh, wow. When it's paying your rent, you start to run into, the more money that gets added to it, the slimier it becomes. And I obviously will not say people's names, but have I met some?
But this guy, and this guy.
I have interacted with people, and we're all like who I truly find disgusting, and I'm around them because this amount of money is a livable wage.
It's politics.
It's serious. And obviously, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep swimming until I can hop over that moat. And then it is even... But who knows? I don't know what problems will come up when I hop over that moat. This is a scary part. And I know that there is financial stability beyond this point. But then we're talking about even more money, which means even slimier, even more cutthroat. And I'm accepting that, and I'm not going backwards. I'm gonna keep going, but like, the more money you add to this, I don't want to say the less fun, because you still find joy, and I'm still very proud of where I am now. But it's fucking intense.
Well, all those great things are multiplied by 10, just like all those negative things are multiplied by 10. That's why it's like such a confusing game, because. All those people that come up to you now with, like, you can't really read their intentions, and you have like some level of notoriety, so it's hard to tell. That problem gets multiplied by 10. You never really know what people's real intentions are. You could never know.
I'm thinking of faces right now. Yeah, man, people are fucked up.
You'll be talking to somebody, you're like, why are we talking right now? Like, you actually think about it. Like, why do they think I'm something, and that's why they're talking to me? Like, because that is it a lot of the time.
Imagine the insanity that came with Man Spider,
right?
With the know-how of, like, oh fuck, this metaphor is about to fall apart, but. The insanity of Man Spider, and Man Spider will not get anywhere, right? Man Spider will always be at the open mic for free. Maybe he'll get the $20 bar show.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna get far enough to jump in the moat with me. But there's plenty of Man Spiders who also get to the moat.
Right.
Who will drag you down and try to drown you with the snakes and the alligators because they're man spider, and man spider needs to do whatever man spider can do to get ahead. When reality, we can both be swimming next to each other to get out of this fucking moat, but man spider is going to try to drag me down.
Right.
And you have to be ready to fight off this person while trying to survive. It's crazy.
You got to be Dr. Octopus fighting man spider.
Yeah.
Octopus doctor, I should say.
Yeah, you get it.
But no, that's really interesting. Because that is so true. Like, you're gonna have people who aren't really meant to be at the level they're at. And like I was reading in the book Emotional Intelligence, there's a little section about like group IQ and how if you study group IQ, what always happens is you would think it would be the case that like I have a group of 5 people and one person is not as good as the other 4. You'd think those 4 might elevate the one. That's never what happens. It's always the one that drags down the 4 every single time. And you are your weakest link. Like that is and that's why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people, because you will I think Dane Cook, he's one of those people who like super successful in the height of his career, and then 10 years later he comes out and says, "Oh yeah, my brother stole all my money." It's like, what? You were the most successful comedian at that time and you made nothing out of that? But it's everybody. It's like you could think from the outside looking in that person's doing great, but it's so easy to get extorted.
Maybe because we may be thinking about the same interview. I think he was on the not call your daddy, your mom's house.
Hey, moms and dads. Yeah. I mean, there's a similarity.
Yeah. I think he was talking to Tom Segura and Christina Prusinski.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And he was talking about how his brother, like when they were in court, you could see in his eye, like he wasn't his brother anymore. There were shark eyes. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And man, this is so dark. I promise the comedy's fun. It's fun, and I love it. I don't want to make it seem like everything's doom and gloom. Like I am happy and I'm proud of where I am, but yeah, that it's like you just get hard. You have to harden yourself to some degree.
Well, and you have to like, because of the fact that so if you're on that moat, if you're in that position where you don't have a bunch of flexibility, especially financially. You don't have like management helping you. You don't have somebody with like the know-how of this industry to be able to steer you away from those things. And that's why it's so important to know such things, because you have to learn to look out for yourself, because no one else is doing it for you. Nobody. So like, especially if you're an agreeable person, like if you're a person who is seeking out the best in others, you will get those people with those shark eyes who will come along. I think it's like a natural thing that happens, where it's like, it's how toxic relationships happen. Like you'll have one person who always ends up with another type of person. And so if you're the agreeable person that kind of lets people walk over you, people will walk over you. You actually have to change to get them to stop doing it.
I don't want to be rude. I just need to send a message.
Oh, no, you're totally good, dude. I'm going to take my little... Wyatt's going to pee. Ruse is going to pee. Ruse is going to pee.
Okay.
Not Wyatt.
Oh, it's going to get edited?
Oh, well, they can watch you text if you want.
Okay. Hello, people. I am texting people. Hold on one second. Look for... Okay. Hey, I know it's you sent that at 12:39. I think we should be wrapping up soon, and as soon as we do, I'll let you know. Yeah. Sorry, I know this is, if people are watching this, I know this is not the most exciting part, but I do want to say I am happy. I am pursuing my dreams, and I am happy about pursuing my dreams, and I know that everything I've been saying can come off so fucking dark, but so I am gonna have to, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to leave soon. But
you're good, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much more time do you have?
5-10 minutes.
Okay.
I think one of the things that keeps me happy is I think back to if I were to meet, if middle school me met me now, he would lose his fucking mind.
In what way?
He would be like, wait a minute. At 33, I live in Chicago. I'm a working comedian. I have my own apartment. I have a cat. I've had sex. I do like boxing and jujitsu stuff, and I've had girlfriends and people. I have some fans, and I've and like I'm really good at comedy, and I've been doing it 10 years. Like when you look back from young version of you, and if young version of you is proud of you and excited for you, and is like, this is the dope. It's like, wow, that it reframes it. And I'd imagine whenever I can climb out of this moat, I'd imagine that future me will look back and be like, man, remember the moat? That was crazy when this happened during the moat, when Man Spider tried to stab me in the kidney in the moat. That was so much craziness. Like you see famous comedians and rappers, when you listen to them talk about the come up, when you see movies, when movies are about, like, Goodfellas, and I know that's not based off of an artist or whatever, but the funnest part of any sort of artistically driven movie, like you're trying to be a famous actor or comedian or musician, the funnest part is watching them go figure out how to get to the thing. And then once they get the thing, that's always the shittiest part of the movie. It's like, all right, you made it, and now you're an asshole, or you lost all your money, or you're whatever. Yeah. Even if you live happily ever after, the funnest part of watching that movie was figuring out how to even get to the thing.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just a matter of appreciating every part of it, the step, the process.
And putting it in perspective constantly. I think like there's a real wisdom that can provide to you, you know? Like one thing I always try to remind myself of is like the circumstances that I am in, they seem normal to me. Like because I'm in them. I wake up and I'm in this reality. But even just if you put yourself in the perspective of, holy shit, I woke up this morning. I woke up in a reality that is functional. Mm-hmm. Nothing went wrong. My dog is alive. My cat is alive. I have the freedom to move. I could take my dog for a walk. Like, sure, there are some things I have to do, but I still have so much freedom of choice. Mm-hmm. And also, the choices I make are so individual. Like, if you really were to try to look at yourself from the outside in, why do I choose this or this or this? Why did I choose to say that? You really start to realize how much of you is so incredibly unique, how much of it is a product of all of these things that led to now, and how it is so different than you could have ever predicted, you know? Like, being the rapper that talks mostly with comedians, that's a strange position to be in. And for me to remind myself, that's the guy I am right now. And I won't always be that guy. There will be a point in time where this will metamorph into something else. And I'll look back on these podcasts. I'll be like, holy shit, remember when I was talking to that guy in the moat? Yeah. You know? And like, that's such a hard thing to do because it's, you know, you also want to live in the moment, but you also don't want to get too ahead of yourself. And you also don't want to live in the past. So it's like figuring out how to always just remind yourself, this is all part of a big roller coaster. And I should just be happy to be on the ride. That's all that matters, is that I paid for my ticket and I'm on the ride. Yeah, man. Well, it was a pleasure having you on here.
Thanks, bro. This was fun.
This was fun.
Yeah.
We'll have you back for sure. At the very end, I always try to make sure to, one, give them the social medias where they can find you, all that good stuff. Let them know about your podcast, where they can find that, when they can expect new episodes to come out. And then also, you got a final message for the kids at home. You want to send them home with something good. Wrap it all up with a bow. The floor is yours.
My Instagram is AaronChase91. That's Aaron. I've accepted it. Chase, like the bank, 91, Year of the Rugrats. I am filming a special, a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but
that's exciting, dude.
Yeah, I'm filming it in. It's going to be short, but I'm filming it in a boxing ring. On April.
I think I saw this actually.
Yeah,
because you've been doing like the boxing advertisements. Yeah.
It's April 26th. 2 shows, 6 p.m. and 7:30. That's really important because I put all the savings I have into that. So, you know, please buy tickets to that. And in the moat, I'm still in the moat.
This guy's got to pay rent.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. So there's that. My podcast, Join the Journey podcast, where hundreds of comedians I've literally talked to. And a message for the kids out there.
Yeah, a little nugget of knowledge.
if you're something you want to do and the idea of doing it is really scary, that probably means it's the thing to do. If you're scared, if you're nervous, obviously don't do anything. Then you always have to tell, because you don't want people to like, I want to surf trains or something stupid like that. Don't do something stupid. But if there's a thing you want to do, if there's a goal that you have in mind and it seems scary to do it, then that's probably the right direction to go.
All right, yeah. No success happened without a leap of faith, boys and girls. You got to have a leap of faith. It's like Assassin's Creed. You got to jump 100 feet in the air into a pile of hay.
Oh, Jesus.
And there's a lot of room for failure, okay? That hay is only so big and you're falling pretty far. But that leap of faith is always required, you know? It really is true. And also the fact that if something is daunting, if something seems challenging, that means that there is a value in it, you know? Like if I go and I can fail, but I do succeed, it's that tightrope walk and getting across it that only that could provide that level of achievement, you know? Like there is no instant gratification in craft, in getting yourself better at something. It doesn't happen like that. You just have to constantly jump in head first, and eventually you just stumble into good circumstances. hopefully, or you just jump a million times and eventually splat, you hit the ground. But you got to start jumping. You got to start jumping.
I dig it.
And with that being said, folks, Ruse Radio, clocking out.
Double down, competition couldn't help him to rock. Missed the whole time, holy fell through the flock. That's an ordinary miracle, wealth to the block. It's a balance in the character that's calm and collect. It's apparent his caricature is lost in the mess. It's hysterical, the picture that they put to his face. It's a confidence administered to earn their respect. Live a little light, a candle.